And we're live.
What up, people? I know we're a little late, but never better. So, welcome to R&J Fantasy Football Talk. Rodney, as you all know, this is JJ.
What's up?
And we're back at it again. You know, it's championship week, and let's get it on. JJ, first of all, how was your week? How have you been?
What?
How was your fantasy week? Let me know.
It's good. It's good. Sorry again, everybody. We're a little bit late. That's my fault. Had to go to the airport. Mom-in-law is in town, so had to handle some family stuff first. But fantasy is looking good, as y'all know. I've had 6 teams make the playoffs. One of them got eliminated last week, so I had 5 semifinal games, and of those 5, I made it to the championship game in 2. So I got two chances to add another title. So hopefully I can at least come away with one of those. Now, how about yourself?
It was a bad week for you, boy. I ain't gonna lie.
Uh-huh.
But I am in a 3rd place game this weekend.
Okay.
I mean, I got a 5th place game, but that don't really mean that it ain't trying to get no championship. So it's fine though. But it is what it is. It's better luck next year. It's little things I might need to change. But other than that, I feel like we were successful. I have handed out a lot of money.
You won't be bringing home the big paycheck, but that's not bad. That's where I was last year. You remember, I didn't make any championship games last year. So this year I'm trying to make up for it.
Well,
if I win, I have at least one more championship than you have. So I think we're gonna have to switch the letters to J and R, Fantasy Football Talk.
Hey, look, it don't even matter, man. At this point, look, it's all good.
Yeah,
but it's look, the roles reversed this year.
Yeah,
I ain't make no championships, but last year I made 2.
Yeah.
So congratulations on that for you. Hope you win them. I mean, really do.
I'm gonna try to take out the guy that took you out last week.
Definitely, you do that for me. So it's all good.
It's all for the honor of R&J Fantasy Football Talk right now.
Exactly. So, other than that, it was all right. So I'm just happy my leagues, they did well. A lot of competition. Everybody played their part. Everybody did well this year.
Right.
And they stayed the course. Nobody actually went stray and didn't care. So I'm happy about that. Even if I'm not in it, I'm good. I'm happy, and you know how it is. We both know. So I appreciate everybody that's in the league and actually doing their thing. So big shout out to Byron though. He in championships. That's my guy. So big shout out to him. Other than that, I can start off with I have 3 to 5 waiver wires that you can pick up. Championship. I guess I go ahead and start it off.
All right. You can get it going.
I got AJ Brown.
I picked him up this week. I like him.
Which is surprising. He's owned in only 68.2% of Yahoo leagues right now, and he's pretty much available. He will be somebody I would actually think about picking up for championship week because he's been production. He's been producing.
Really good.
And he has that quarterback. Him and that quarterback got it going.
Right.
So you kind of got to trust that.
And I love their matchup this week too. So they're gonna have to. We saw this the other night. New Orleans is on something right now. So Tennessee's gonna have to throw that ball around a lot.
Oh yeah.
I'm actually glad that was your first. I'm glad that's the first name you said because I got a question. I'm gonna jump right in since we're running late and ask you this question.
Okay.
I picked him up, and I'm not committed yet, but I'm on the fence about starting him in front of Jarvis Landry in one of my leagues this week because Jarvis the last 2 weeks has not been doing well as the Browns have not been great either.
Well, I'm gonna give you a quick story.
Okay.
This week,
story time.
I picked him up last week.
Uh-huh.
And I was on the fence with him and Gallup. So I picked him up in 2 leagues. Now, I played him. I actually put him in a lineup in one of my leagues, like a couple minutes before the game started.
Right.
I was like, you know what? I'm going to play him. Forget it. Then in the other league, which I lost by literally, he put up 30 points last week in that league, and I lost by 28.
Oh.
So, yes. So if I would have played him, I would be in the championship this week. So
no.
my advice to you is, I would play him because he is getting targets.
Yeah.
So that would be somebody I would play. I would play him instantly. I would put him in the lineup right now if you could.
Because yeah, I think I will.
Targets. So definitely, if I was you, I would play him. Now another person which is weird because nobody is really picking him up, is Mitch Trubisky is owned in 22.1% of Yahoo leagues, which is insane to me, and he has been producing the last 4 weeks. Why nobody is picking him up? It's insane to me.
I agree because he's been really good, but I'm gonna do the counter argument because I heard my pen out. I was like and before I could get to the Bisky part, I was like, I don't know. I can't believe I'm about to say it, but Kansas City's defense has been really good as of late.
Okay.
And so I'm like, I think it's still depending on your quarterback situation, I still think it's a decent pickup, but I don't know whether it's the teams that Kansas City has been playing lately because I thought I wrote it down. I don't have it written on my list, but the teams that they played lately aren't as good as some of the teams that were playing earlier. So it's like I don't know whether it's the offenses they're playing that aren't as good, or has Kansas City's defense really picked it up. But I like, in general, I like Trubisky. So what else you got?
I got Rashad Perriman.
Yes.
And he's owned in 7.2% of Yahoo right now. And he put up 5 receptions, 113 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And another fact why you should start him is Jameis Winston put up 458 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Yes.
But the other fact that what nobody's really thinking about is they lost Chris Godwin for the year.
Mm-hmm.
So he is the #1 receiver in that offense right now.
It's mind-blowing to me how few people have Rashad Perriman across the leagues. At one league I looked at, I saw him, I think the biggest number I saw was like, it might have been ESPN or CB, I forget. They had him like at 14%. And I was like, how is his numbers this low? I love that pickup. And I love the Tampa Bay matchup this week. I'm going to later say Jameis Winston is one of my top performers. So, yeah, I'm filling your list so far. I'm filling your list.
That's all I got.
That's what you got?
I had 2 more people, but they didn't really. I just don't see them, performing too well this week. So I'm going to leave them off. But those are my 3 that I have right now.
Those are your 3 tops. All right.
If you can go get them, go get them.
Go get those, definitely. I'm gonna tag off your first pick and go with the quarterback, Ryan Tannehill, who's still only owned in like 63% of leagues. So if you have a chance to get Tannehill this week, I love that New Orleans. I love that New Orleans matchup. So I'm gonna throw a breaking waiver. I didn't have this. I was at the airport checking my Twitter feed, and I was like, I'm about to change my waiver pickup and put in DeAndre Washington. Because they just announced that Josh Jacobs is out this week.
What?
Josh Jacobs is not going to play. And let's see, it was today. It was like I was literally at the airport waiting at baggage claim, and I think I saw DeAndre Washington was on like somewhere around 30-something% of leagues. And a lot. I picked him up in 3 leagues. In one of them, I wanted to pick him up, but someone just dropped DeAndre Washington today when they did a waiver pickup. Because, last week, Josh Jacobs played. This week, apparently, he's out. So, if you can get DeAndre Washington.
If you remember last week, he was on my list.
Right, exactly.
Where I pick up. But I did say because Josh Jacobs was playing that, it wasn't really enough for you to pick him up.
And I think that's why a lot of people either dropped him or didn't pick him up when they had the chance. So he's still out there in a bunch of leagues. So if you can get DeAndre Washington, he should put up some good numbers for you this week. So
definitely gonna get 25 carries, easy.
I don't know whether you're saving this one, so I'm gonna say. I remember at the end of last week, I said we need to show some love to the tight ends because we've been. So, but I'm gonna say one of my names because he's at like 60 something, almost 70%. So I'm gonna keep him off my waiver wire pickups, and I'm pretty sure we're gonna say his name later when we talk about matchups because I know there's a couple of games you want to talk about. But I'm gonna go for tight end here. Rolling some dice on OJ Howard. I love the look on your face.
I really wasn't thinking OJ Howard. I was really thinking Higbee.
No, that's later, man. That's it.
Okay.
He's at 70. He's nearly 70%. So I say I'm gonna leave him off my waiver wire pickups, and I'm gonna put him as my top performer guy.
Okay.
So on my waiver pickup.
I'm sorry. But I don't want no problem.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. You let the cat out the bag.
It's okay. It's all good.
But I like OJ Howard for the same reason you said about Brashad Perriman. I think OJ Howard's gonna have a really good. And it's not even about OJ Howard because I don't really like him as a tight end that much. But I love Jameis, and I saw today that we just saw the other night Drew Brees broke Peyton Manning's record on touchdowns, but Jameis is almost at Peyton's record for a single season for yards, and it's high. I think he needs to average like 450 yards a game. But the way they throw the rock around, who knows?
He can get it, definitely.
And I'm gonna throw out one more tight end for you, and I think you pretty much. I have one. Well, I'm gonna throw out a tight end. Then I have another list of names. I'll see what you think about. A tight end I like this week is Jason Witten, and we'll probably talk a bit more about that Eagles Dallas game, but. Jason Witten is 2 touchdowns away from being the all-time leading receiver for touchdowns in Dallas, knocking Dez Bryant off the list, and I think they're gonna push the ball to him to try to get him over that. So it's a dice roll on my tight ends. The other thing I'm gonna talk about, and this is an indecision moment with Minnesota and Dalvin Cook, because a lot of people are picking up Mike Boone. Well, a lot is not the right word because he's not on in a lot of leagues, like 5% in some. It's small, but with all the injury between Dalvin Cook, whether or not he's playing with Alexander Madison, Mike Boone might be in a position. I don't think it's a pickup that's going to probably win you a championship, but if you have those other Minnesota running backs on your roster, and you haven't picked up Mike Boone, I think you need to start making that move because just in case, you might need him. That's my waiver. That's my waiver selections.
Since you want to go there, we can go there. I have in my starting situation, I have a running back that I think a lot of people should think about starting this week because of the matchup.
Okay.
And that is Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon is a great play this week because he played against the Miami Dolphins, and their defense is 30th in the league against the run. So he's a really, really good matchup that if you can grab him, because I don't think a lot of people have him anyway.
Right.
If you can grab him, I would play him just because of the matchup.
Just the matchup, right. I think you're still in my note because I have at the bottom of my page, I was going to wait for the top performers and talk about Joe Mixon. So you already beat me. Great minds, man. That's why we do this, because we draft alike and we think a lot fantasy alike. Right? So
it's kind of scary.
Yeah.
Like, man. And I give the audience a little backdrop story of when we first started playing together.
Okay.
About 10 years ago in SM League. And we actually, if I'm not mistaken, I went to championship
the first year. The first year you were in the league, yep. And how'd it go for you, though, that first year?
I lost. It's fine.
2?
But I came back and won it.
You lost 2, though? If you're going to tell the audience, tell them the whole story. You lost 2.
I lost to you. Yeah. I lost to you the first. If you go tell the real story.
But then the next year, you won beating me. So
Exactly. So, but the moral of the story is me and JJ actually we draft so similar. We had a draft the next year, and we drafted in front of each other and behind each other. And we used to tell anybody whoever's drafted between us, you're not going to have a good season. Over for you.
They in trouble.
Because we already know who we want to pick, and it's so aligned with each other. It's scary. So I remember that year your dad was in between us. He didn't have a good year that year because he was like, man, I cannot get away from both of y'all. So, it's just not going to work for me.
Yeah,
so I
was like, picking them up, coming and going. So, yeah.
Yeah, so he was like, you know what? But it just lets the audience know that we think so much alike. And actually, people, we take notes, but we don't talk about who we picking or who we're writing down as notes.
I'm hearing this list for the first time, and it matches my list in several places.
So,
but that's good. That's good.
So, I mean, I had a few, and like I said, I got a few top performers.
Okay.
As far as quarterbacks this week, obviously, Jameis Winston. Lamar Jackson, obviously. Pat Mahomes. But I got to give it to really, again, Drew Brees just had an awesome game.
Yeah,
I mean, he could have played the whole game and threw for 400 yards and had 6 touchdowns. They sat him in the third, like at the end of the third quarter.
Right.
Didn't even play the fourth. So he had an awesome game.
I'm going to flashback while you're talking about Drew Brees. For those that watched last week, I had my dilemma when I said, should I play Pat Mahomes or Drew Brees? Well, I went with Drew Brees and still lost. Despite that game. Now, it was still the right decision, but that was the league where I was playing against someone who had Lamar Jackson from last week, and it did not. Drew Brees hit for a second, though. He had me thinking, maybe, just maybe, he could pull this thing off. But, I still lost.
Well, I kind of knew he was going to sit when they was up.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was like, in the fourth quarter, he probably not even going to play, so it's not even worth it. So, I mean, you had your chance, but when that fourth quarter hit, and it was over. Like, whoever had him is a wrap for him. It ain't even perfect. So, but he had a great week.
Right.
And then I had my list of, the top running backs from last week. And I just want to point out one running back, actually, because you had a lot of good ones.
Mm-hmm.
But Miles Sanders had a really good week.
Rebound week, right? From 2 weeks ago, yeah.
I think, and obviously, you had Nick Chubb who had a good week. Ezekiel had a good week, but Miles Sanders is really one that stands out the most because of the week before that he really didn't do too well.
Right.
So here's another one that I think is really like if you got him this week, I would play him this week against Dallas.
Definitely play him this week.
I mean, that's just me. I think that at the end of the day, he's gonna get all the because they're down on a lot of they got Ajayi as their second running back.
Right.
That tells you something right now.
Yeah.
So he's gonna get 25 carries, and he gets.
I think he has a big game. I agree with you, and we've seen the Dallas defense is susceptible to the run. So yeah. I like Sanders.
So I like him. And like I have my top wide receivers, obviously, but I would like to slide into another segment of start and sit though. So I have already started pretty much with mix. But right now I have Jameis Winston versus Houston, who is their defense is 28th in passing. So therefore I will throw him out there and I will let him go. And I will let him do what he do because they're going to throw the ball all over the place.
Yeah.
So him and then I got Chris Carson from Seattle. They play Arizona and they're 32nd in the league against the rush. Now, though you can put him out there, he probably go for 200 yards because they are so terrible on defense. It's insane. And then I have Russell Wilson and I got Saquon Barkley because Russell Wilson plays Arizona and they're 32nd in the pass defense, and Saquon plays Washington. We all
know what's going to happen there, right?
Exactly. I mean, do you have your starters that you think gonna do work this week?
Man, you literally did most of my list. I'm just gonna throw out a name you didn't hit on, and it is from that game with Jameis Winston. I'm seeing the ball flying all day. I like Deshaun Watson and DeAndre Hopkins for that.
That's yes.
I mean, they're always starters, but I think just because of and watch me say this, and then it becomes like some dud football game where they score 13 more. But I think there's going to be so many yards, so many touchdowns in that game. So I have those on my list. Tyler Lockett started to make a comeback last week. And against that, like you said, the Arizona defense is so bad. I think he has a good game. And that might be wishful thinking because I kind of need him to have a good game for at least one of my leagues. Let's see. Who else did I have? Because you said all of those guys. What do you think? Going back to the Eagles and Dallas matchup, you said we had Miles Sanders. You said you like. Right?
Yes.
I'm going to go with Dallas, their wide receivers. If you watched the game last week, it was completely dominated by Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott. They had 2 rushers over 100 yards in that game.
Yeah.
Last week's show, we discussed the differences or similarities between Gallup and Amari Cooper. Yeah. Do you like either of those wide receivers this week? Going against the Eagles.
I'm not gonna say I don't like them. I will say this though. I will say if I had to just say hypothetically, I was in an advantage. If I was in a fantasy championship week, I will put more of my stock into Ezekiel Elliott and Prescott over Amari and Gallup because last week showed me what needs to be done for them to win the game.
I thought it was a mismatch. Did you see who was the leading receiver in that game last week?
I did not.
Tavon Austin.
One
reception. that one reception. And he led the team in receiving. I'm like, I do not like Dallas receivers right now.
No, I don't.
I'm not feeling them.
That's why I say if it was me, I would roll with Zeke as pretty much your running back. And that Prescott actually is a good play this week.
I like Prescott. I don't know how because none of his, but he did throw it around. So a lot of the receivers caught the ball, but none of them had stellar games. So that I still like. The running backs I still like. I can't say there's a wide receiver. So if we're doing starting and sitting, I'm sitting probably any wide receiver for Dallas. And putting in somewhere else, like the pickups we talked about earlier, like A.J. Brown or Brashard Perriman, if you can get them, and just go with them instead.
Actually, my list of sits is really not that long, but really, I have Jared Goff, obviously, against the 49ers. I mean, if you go back and you look at the last time they played, he had an awful game.
It's funny. That's the of my sits. I wrote down the because you might have watched the last few weeks and thought Jared Goff is getting out of his funk and he's a good player now. He's not. I looked up his QBR the last week against Dallas, Seattle, and Arizona. All of them very suspect. And in those 3 games respectively, his quarterback rating was 84, 95, and 120. But if you go the 3 games before that against what you would consider good defenses, Baltimore, Chicago, and Pittsburgh, his quarterback rating was 62, 70, and 51. Huge drop-off. And which one of those categories do you put San Francisco's defense? I'm thinking the latter one. And the last time he played, his quarterback rating was only 61. I think there's going to be a lot of badness coming out of Jared Goff this week. So that is an excellent sit.
Well, what a lot of people don't realize is the last time he played the San Francisco 49ers, he threw for under 100 yards.
Yeah. So he was terrible.
Yeah, he was terrible. So you have to sit him. Then another player I'm sitting Baker Mayfield. He has to sit like this.
Right.
Like, they play the Ravens for one. I mean, last time they did beat the Ravens, but I think this is a different Ravens defense now from the first game. I think because at the end of the day, the Ravens that he's playing this week, they're out to prove that game was a fluke, and they're gonna come after him.
Right. And
he's really bad under pressure because accuracy is terrible when he's under pressure. So he's one I'm sitting anyway.
Right.
Excuse me. And then I got Sam Darnold who's playing the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Okay.
That defense has been on fire.
Yeah.
They're fourth in passing. Throughout the whole league, they're fourth in passing defense. And sitting Singletary from Buffalo, the running back.
Really? Okay, now that was a surprise.
Well, because New England is first in rushing defense.
Right.
You know Belichick is going to come up with something. In the last game he played against New England, he didn't do too well.
Right, he did.
And I think it's going to be the same thing around here. So those are my four, and I think the biggest one that's probably going to stand out the most, I think Goff throws, and this is just my prediction, I think Goff throws for under 150 yards this week.
I would believe that.
So.
Okay, I'm going to go with all those. I'm not even going to say I might. I'm interested to see Devin Singletary earlier in this year is not the Devin Singletary we've seen the last few weeks. I like him. Would I put him as one of my top performers? Not so much, but if I had him on my team, I wouldn't be gun shy about starting him. But yeah, okay. I can understand being a little bit hesitant about how well he'll do. We'll see. The Patriots have. I don't know what's in the water with them right now.
Yeah.
But the defense has been decent this whole year.
The defense has been good the whole year. I just feel like they stopped the run really well.
Yeah.
And they key on the team's best player.
I'm about to say that. They do a really good job at taking away your strength. So
yeah, they're very good at that. So they always take away your top. Like, for instance, they're going to take – their quarterback is really not going to do much.
Right.
Because they strive on taking away what he can do. Mm-hmm. And the same thing with Singletary. They're going to take away what he can do at the same time. So they're going to have to kind of go to a different game plan. That's why I say sit him. Now I mean, I could be wrong, though, but that's what I feel a little bit there.
That's all we're doing. We're taking our best guesses. Now, last week you set Tom Brady. Do you sit him again this week?
Yes.
Yeah.
I will.
I do too.
Tom Brady had 120 yards last week. And I know I caught a little flack from you last week when I said Tom Brady, but I was right.
Yeah.
So, because if you go back, I think I said a few people last week that I was actually right about last week. So, Tom Brady was one, and I think Amari Cooper was one.
Yeah, that's
and
definitely
OBJ was one. So out of the four that I did predict to sit last week, Tyler Lockett was probably the only one.
Yeah.
That kind of.
But quite frankly, I think everyone except Tyler Lockett was surprised by how well he did. So, hey, if that's the one you missed, you're not by yourself.
So I'm sitting Tom Brady this week.
Yeah.
If you're in the championship game and you really need to win this thing and you try to win, I'm sitting Tom. I mean,
unless you don't have a better option, I agree. The Buffalo defense has been good this year, and I'm not feeling confident putting my championship on the line with the way Tom Brady's been lately. So
they're a top three defense.
Yeah.
You know, Buffalo's a top three defense this year. If I'm not mistaken, the top four defenses are Baltimore, San Francisco, Buffalo, and Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. Those are your top four defenses right now. And you really don't do much. They have really good – Buffalo has really good corners. Yeah. They have a really good secondary. And their linebackers are really good. So – and they're going to get pressure on Tom Brady. So I wouldn't start at Tom Brady. If you have to, and that's your only quarterback, then by all means, please do it. But if you have other options, and if you can go pick up, actually, it goes back to what we said earlier. If you can pick up somebody like Mitch Trubisky or, a Tannehill to put in play of Tom Brady, because it's gonna be a shootout. They're gonna run. They're gonna throw the ball. So I would look, especially Tannehill. I'm just saying, Tannehill. If Tannehill is available in any of your leagues,
please pick him up. Right.
Please pick him up. I would play him over Tom Brady this week
in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat.
Exactly. Just because of the fact they played in New Orleans and it's going to be a shootout. Yeah. It's going to be a shootout from start to finish. And then you compare that with A.J. Brown, you're definitely going to get numbers. So
that could win you a championship right there, that combination. So
yes. So if I was anybody out there listening, and like I said, if y'all have any questions, y'all want to ask us anything, please, chime in.
Let's take a moment and talk about a game I know you want to talk about. Okay. Your boys.
Man, that's tough one there, baby. I wrote that down. Actually, I have that on my matchup list this week. I feel like that's a matchup that we have to win. And the reason I say that is we cannot lose any more games if we want to win a division. So, therefore, we have to win this week, win out, and beat Seattle. But this game is very important for actually the Rams, too. Yeah. If they win this week, they can sneak in the playoffs because they have to keep winning to get in. But if we win, if we win and Seattle lose, we take that number 1 seed back with home field advantage. And that's what I really want. So we'll get that back plus the home field advantage throughout the playoffs. So we need to win, and I hope we get the win, but I think we can get the win. We're a 6-point favorite right now, right? According to bettors. So, but I have a few people that I think should have fantasy impact from the last game. Obviously, Jimmy G, Kittles, and Emmanuel Sanders should have fantasy impact because the last game we played them, those 3 actually did work.
You're talking about the last time y'all played the Rams?
Yes.
Okay.
So, as far as Rams, Jared Goff, he's a fantasy impact player when he's right, but I still don't think
I think we both agree on sitting him this week. Yeah.
Todd Gurley, I wouldn't say start him, but I would also say if you had no choice, I would play him.
Yeah, I think for someone like Todd Gurley, you have to play him. He's going to be one of your. He's not quite as high as he was in, let's say, 2 or 3 years ago, but Todd Gurley is probably maybe not your number 1, but probably your number 2 running back. Yeah. So I think you still play him. Same with running backs though. Going back to your team, what about Mustard? Do you play him?
I feel like you don't know what you're getting with the backfield.
Yeah.
That's my only concern. I mean, because you have 3 guys that can
all
run the ball.
And all 3 of them have been the guy at some point this season. Right.
Now, I will say this. I would go with Breeder.
Oh, you like him? Okay.
And the reason I say that because Breeder the reason he didn't play much last week because he was coming off of injury.
Right.
So coming off of injury, Shanahan didn't want to play him as much.
Okay.
So I think this week he'll probably get a little bit more carries this week because I think they want to go back to the formula because Breeder was a starter.
Yeah.
So I think they're gonna kind of work him back in slowly to get him going. But I think he's gonna be the man this week when it's all said and done at the end of the game this week. I think he's gonna be the man. So I'm not saying don't sit Mustard because I think you got to think about Mustard gets tackles. He's on kick return.
Right.
He's on punt return. He get carries.
Right.
He get 10 carries a game. So you're getting a lot of points a lot of different ways if you put him in the game. So he's a gunner. So he does a little bit of everything, So you gotta kind of mix him in. And I would start him if you want to play him at a flex position. Definitely start him.
Okay.
But I would play Breeder over him because I think Breeder's going to
be the lead guy.
Yeah, I think he's going to be the lead guy. Personally.
Okay.
It's another game I would like to hop on, and I think this is a really tough game, and that's the Packers and the Vikings.
Yeah.
So I like that game. That game, both of them, the Vikings are a game out from winning the division. So if they beat the Packers this week, they tied up that division. They take the lead, actually. So, and I think a few guys actually need to have fantasy impact. Right. And Aaron Rodgers is one of them. He hasn't played well the last couple of weeks. So for him, he has to really step up because that Vikings defense is really good.
Yeah.
So him and Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones, those three alone can kind of get you a lot of fantasy points. Right. But to me, Aaron Rodgers hasn't really been Aaron Rodgers lately.
He is surprisingly a top 10 fantasy football this year, but if you have him, like I do, it doesn't seem like he has. Because, and it is mostly, I can't remember which game it was. A lot of it, he had like these really big games around weeks 4 or 5, and he's been pretty much pedestrian ever since. Yeah. So he's ranked high, but if you have him, he hasn't been what you expected from Aaron Rodgers this year.
Now I have a question for you. Do you think that game in itself is going to be a shootout to make?
I don't think so. Honestly,
you don't think so?
I would not be surprised if neither team got over 30 in that game.
Okay. I think it's going to be a shootout because I think Dalvin Cook is really hurt.
Yeah, he's definitely. The question is, what I was reading today that he said because it's a shoulder thing, and same injury he had, was that 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, and I think they're probably guessing he's gonna play, but I can't. I was looking at that running backs I mentioned earlier about Mike Boone and Madison, and it's like I can't put a handle on it. I want to stay away from all three of them. And I'm thinking they're just going to be throwing the ball around. They have Thielen back. Diggs. Maybe. I'm trying to think. Is Kirk Cousins a good play? I think they're going to have to throw it.
I would say
I don't know if you can trust your running backs.
I would say he's a good play because you cannot trust Devin Cook. Devin Cook he's hurt.
Yeah.
And if he does play, he's going to be on limited snaps. So you got Thielen back and you got Diggs. So, and you got to think about it. We all know Aaron Rodgers can be Aaron Rodgers. So if you get Aaron Rodgers, you could get, they could put up 21 points, 28 points like that.
Yeah.
You're going to have, that's going to force the Vikings to put the ball in the hands of Kirk Cousins.
Right.
Which we all see. We all know what Kirk Cousins can do with the ball in his hand. We just know he can't win games when he counts. Now, when he can throw for 300, now, do you trust him to throw for 300 and say and put the game on your back? Now, for your question, do you start Kirk Cousins this week? I would say if you got him, I would start him because I think that's going to be a shootout. I think because the division's on the line. So he can't go out there and throw 10 times and expect to win. With no Dalvin Cook, you can't throw 10 times.
Well, I will say for the Minnesota running game, Green Bay defense, at least in fantasy, is one of the worst. Then the bottom 10. We saw what Mike Boone even did last week.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not like they don't have people they can throw in and run the ball well, but I think it's probably going to be more of I think I like the wide receivers better for Minnesota for the reasons you mentioned. So I think that's going to be an interesting game. I'm rooting for Aaron Rodgers because I don't think it's going to be a shootout, but I'm hoping for one. I'm hoping that you're right about that because I need good Aaron Rodgers to win at least one championship.
I just got a weird feeling that because of the whole the thing with the Packers this year is if you notice, Aaron Jones is the focal point of that offense.
Yeah.
Not
it has not been
Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
So the thing is, he's been that focal point. He's running he's getting 20 to 25 carries in the game every week, and he's getting those touches out of the backfield as far as catching.
Right.
So the thing is, do you trust Aaron Rodgers? I would say yes, because if it gets to a point where they have to throw the ball and they're down by a lot, Aaron Rodgers is going to be Aaron Rodgers.
Right. I'm over here laughing and smiling a little bit because I wanted to look it up because I mentioned earlier that Aaron Rodgers had this one really good game and he's been pretty much pedestrian the rest of the year. And so I said, who was that? Who was it they played against? So I looked it up, and I think I know why I forgot. It was against the Raiders. So I went back. He had 2 touchdowns he threw for. He did have an interception. He didn't have oh, hold on, wait. Am I looking? Here it is. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong line. He had 429 yards. Actually, he threw 5 touchdowns. That's what it was. He even had a rushing touchdown that game against the Raiders. And that's why Aaron Rodgers has had a good year, basically off that one game. Because if you look at the rest of his games, he hasn't been that great. And against Minnesota's defense, I'm struggling thinking it's going to be a shootout. Again, I'm hoping you're right. I'm hoping you're right.
I mean, that's what we're here for.
It's a possibility.
Yeah. So we can disagree, but I just feel like if the Vikings get up, because the Vikings, they can get up.
Yeah.
And it's going to force Aaron Rodgers to throw the ball.
And that's what I'm hoping happens, yeah.
So you got to have that. So it's like
in Minnesota, so Minnesota should be motivated to, to play really well. They need to. So I like that game though. I do like that game. All eyes will be on it, all my eyes, because that might make or break my championship run. However, what Aaron Rodgers does in that game. So yeah.
Well, I have another matchup for you.
What else you got?
The Bills versus the Patriots.
Okay.
The Patriots have a 1-game lead over the Bills going into this week.
That for the first time in ages, someone's actually challenging the Patriots for that division. So
now, I think, you obviously have your. What I did was I kind of picked out players who should have fantasy impact in this game. Obviously, you say Tom Brady, but I really, it's too hard for me to trust Tom Brady right now. I just don't.
I think we both agreed on Tom Brady's not that guy. I don't know if I really like either quarterback in this game. Yeah,
I don't. I do like John Brown. John Brown.
Okay.
I kind of like John Brown. They got to throw the ball at some point. So I mean, but another point is he's their number 1 receiver. Mm-hmm. He's going to be going against their number 1 cornerback, who is really the best cornerback in the league outside Richard Sherman. So, it's true. I
just like how it always is a cornerback to somebody that plays for the Niners, right?
Hey, look, you know how Skip do. Skip always throw a cowboy out there too.
Exactly.
Come on, man. Hey, look, man. Stop. You already know how I am, man. I'm faithful, man. Come on.
I can't argue with you. Go ahead, man.
Hey, look, man. I'm true to my blood, man. Stop doing me like that, okay?
I wish the Raiders were good. Then I could do the same.
Hey, look. If we were bad, I would do the same thing. What you talking about, man? I think Julian Edelman has a good game.
Yeah.
He had a bounce back from last week because he had a horrible game last week.
Yeah.
But I honestly feel like James White is the one that's going to have a really, really good game. Because James White, he just catches the ball out of the backfield so much. He's probably the only running back in New England you can trust at this point. Anyway.
Yeah, he is the only one. I agree, 100%.
Okay. I definitely...
And it's weird because this is the first season in my history of playing the fantasy football that I've said that about any new. Because usually, if it's a Belichick running back, I don't like him because you fumble once and you're out the game for the rest of the day. So, but the James White, I love.
Exactly.
I love him a little bit less in this game just because the Bills' defense is so good. But if I'm gonna pick a player, he's probably one of my favorites for this game.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, but those would be. I mean, I had Singletary, but I like I told you earlier, Singletary, he's on my sit list because I just think they're gonna focus on him and Josh Allen this week.
What do you think about Cole Beasley?
Woo, that's a tough one because he's in slot.
Yeah.
That's a lot of
because you talked about who's going to be the getting the biggest coverage, who they're going to put, who the Patriots are going to put the number one corner on.
Yeah,
I think Beasley can slip through and do a little something this game. Maybe
coverage.
Maybe not. No.
I mean, yeah, I think so. I think because of the fact that it's the underneath coverage, and it's going to be, he's not. John Brown is really, like you say, he might get his, but he's facing a really good corner. So whoever's that second receiver for Buffalo, they may get off, and Beasley may get off in the slot. So we just don't know. It is a toss up between those two, but that could be a play, though. Honestly, I mean, I wouldn't.
I don't know if I want it for my champ. Now, I go with this. Keep it in perspective. It is championship week.
Yeah.
Do I start Cole Beasley?
No,
probably not. Probably depending on my wide. If you have a wide receiver situation where you are looking for someone, maybe.
No, I wouldn't do it because it's a million receivers out there that you can probably pick up
before him. Right.
Yeah, Yahoo. So
okay.
Like I wouldn't even do it. Like it's just I wouldn't. You know. No, I wouldn't.
Stay away.
No. Do you have any other matchups that you think you see that could be worth looking at this week?
I think we hit on the main three we wanted to hit. And the other one we mentioned before, I think the matchup between the Texans and Tampa Bay is going to be just a fantasy love fest. I can see both quarterbacks having at least 3 touchdowns in that game. So, and of course, Jameis will have at least 3 interceptions because he's Jameis Winston. But but who cares?
Yeah, you're right about that.
right.
And look, you're absolutely right. I think that's a good matchup. There's another matchup out there. It's not a good matchup, but it's a matchup that could really mix things up in the NFC, and that's Arizona and Seattle.
Yeah.
That's another matchup. Even though I think, like I said, Russell Wilson's going to have probably a good game. Carson's going to have a good game. Lockett going to have a good game because of that. Who they playing? The defense is terrible. But as far as playoffs in the NFC, if they lose that game, they drop back down to the 5th seed, and everybody else slides right into different positions.
Right.
And if the Cowboys lose, Cowboys are out of the playoffs.
Here's the thing. I hope my father's not watching because he's a big Eagles fan.
Yes,
I want the Cowboys to lose so badly, but I have no faith in Carson Wentz. I have no faith in the Eagles. It seems like both teams have been trying their darndest to not win that division, probably because they both know they're so bad they're going to get bounced the first week of the playoffs.
Yes.
I get this horrible feeling in my gut that the Cowboys win that game because they looked really good last week, and I'm scared they're going to continue.
Now, I have a question. Being that you said that, explain to the people why you don't believe in Carson Wentz. What is one of your biggest reasons why? Because if you think about it, Carson Wentz was a good fantasy quarterback last year.
Yeah.
Now, what do you think changed to make him not that great again?
Well, this is not related at all to his fantasy performance, but the best the Eagles have been in the past few years has been when Carson Wentz has not been there.
That is true.
So,
man, that's a true statement.
And even this year, he has not been. I thought that Carson Wentz, in his defense, because he's been hurt so much, he's really getting a chance to play, surprisingly, this full season. So maybe they just need to give him some more time. But I think my expectations for Carson Wentz was that he'd be a top 10 fantasy football quarterback this year. With you can say his wide receivers aren't the best, but with Zach Ertz, I thought you would see a lot more from him. I'm just not impressed with what I've seen from him.
You don't think it's the receiving core?
Like I said, the receivers are terrible. Well, I won't say terrible. They're a bunch of no-name guys, and none of them stand out. They don't get separation. There's no one with lightning speed. They need a big time wide receiver there. But I think Zach Ertz is good enough that he should be in the same kind of field as I know I'm going to insult your boy Kittle right now, but that's the kind of things I think we should see, and I have to hold Carson Wentz as the one that's available for it. So again,
Ertz had a good week last week.
Yeah.
He had 5 receptions, 64 yards, and a touchdown. But if you put them in that class of tight ends,
right?
So if we're going to do the class of tight ends, it's Kittles, Kelsey, and Ertz. If you go in top 3, now I got somebody out there that you really really applaud because you gonna like this one. I think if he continues to play well, I think Waller could be a top 5 tight end next year if he keeps progressing and getting better.
I see top 5, yeah.
I mean, because it's a drop off after those 3.
Yeah.
So Waller may be somebody you'd be like, well, you know what? I'll take a fly on next year and kind of go with it.
He was hurt a lot this year, but when you put Ingram ahead of him, I would. If he's not hurt.
Ingram. I mean, Hunter Henry may. I just think, I don't know. Hunter Henry may be a top 5. So if I'm going top 5, I'm going Kittles.
I put Waller ahead of Hunter Henry, though.
You would?
Yeah.
For what reason?
The same reason you say Richard Sherman's the best quarterback in the NFL.
Is that a homer pick, or is that a pick that you think just because?
No, I think he has more talent than Henry. And this is I hold your past against you. How many years was Henry supposed to be the dude, and like a 75-year-old Antonio Gates still ended up being the best tight end in with the Chargers?
Hold. I disagree with that.
Yes.
Because first of all, Hunter Henry was hurt.
He was hurt for some of that time. I give you that.
But this year, he did play well when he came back. So you can't tell me he is not a top 5 tight end right now.
I don't have him. I have him as a top 10 tight end. I don't have Hunter Henry in my top 5.
Who's your top 5 then?
You said 3 of them already. When you have Kittles, you have Kelsey, you have Ertz. That's 3 right there. I told you. I think Waller's a better tight end than Hunter Henry is, and I would go with Evan Ingram above Hunter Henry.
You cannot say Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram has not played a full season in 2 years.
When he's not hurt.
He just went on out.
But I say, how about this year, Austin Hooper?
Austin Hooper.
What?
Austin Hooper. Let me rethink that then. Hold up. So, Kittles, Kelsey, Ertz, Austin Hooper, Waller are my top 5. Outside looking in, Henry, Higsby could be a top 8 if they keep the same game plan that they doing now. So I can see that as a top play for them.
Mm-hmm. With Everett being hurt so much this year, do you think that next year, does that affect Higbee any? I know that's that's
I mean, we can talk about it. Yeah. We can talk about it. It's cool. I think Higbee is better than him.
Yeah, I do too.
He makes the offense better. So
I agree.
Now it expands that tight end position going into next year because of the fact that you don't have after the top three gone, you ain't like, oh man, I can't get me a good tight end because you have the Hoopers of the world, you have the Waller, you have those guys that's coming along. You can say, you know what, I can wait to especially in our draft.
Yeah,
you can wait to 7, 8, 9 to pick up a tight end. Like me, you know how I roll. I'm picking up a tight end on the third round. I'm picking up a tight end. That's what I do. So,
back in the Gronk days, in the first round.
Exactly. I was going Gronk first round, second round.
You sure were.
So I love my tight ends. I'm just saying, it's to me, it's probably about 8 good tight ends now. About 8.
Yeah. And Hunter Henry is number 8 on my list.
You're wilding, man.
I'm a hater.
You got Ingram over Hunter Henry. Ingram has not played a full season in 2 years. You really, Jason? Come on, really?
If I'm drafting, it could be it could be my AFC West hate. Maybe that's what it is. But I love Kelsey though, so it can't be that. No,
it can't be that. I think you're dreaming of a world where you think Ingram is just really good. Ingram has not produced, man. He has not did anything.
I just
see it happening.
I see we're getting close on that hour, so I just say this: Hunter Henry is the 3rd best tight end in the AFC West. That's a fact. It's a fact. Yes.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, because you got Kelsey, you got
Waller, and then you have Hunter Henry. I can't even tell you who the tight end in Denver is.
They don't have one. We're not even going to talk about that. I don't know. I think you may be right about that. I will give you that.
So if he's the 3rd best in the AFC West, that means he is not a top 5.
So
case closed.
So is Ingram? Hold up. Is Ingram better than Higbee? Is he better than him?
I have not enough information on either one to make a complete yes or no.
Right.
I want to say Ingram. I want to say I really like Ingram.
I see. I really do.
I want to say yes, but I don't think I've seen enough Higbee to say for certain. And again, like you said, Ingram is always hurt. Much like who's the guy in Washington? They always said
I can't think of his name.
Can't think of his name right now.
Because he got hurt this year too. So.
He gets hurt every year.
Something's always wrong with him. So I definitely agree with you. But I'm just saying, if you had to make a choice right now, Higbee is probably better than Ingram right now at this
point. I say right now, today.
Even going into next year.
I don't know if I say that next year.
By the way, people, we're not sure yet, we may have a special of not so early drafts, 25 top drafts, as far as 25 best quarterbacks going into fantasy next year. And we probably do every position, but we don't know right now. We're going to probably do it, but we'll
work on it.
We'll work on it. But if I'm doing my 25 top tight ends next year,
25 tight ends.
It ain't even 25 good tight ends right now. What are you talking about, man?
Hey, well, we said we were going to show the tight end some love this week, and I think we
did. Still, Kittle's is going to be number 1. I don't care what nobody says.
Next week, we're going to talk nothing but kickers. How about that for Christmas?
Hey, look, kickers are not getting any love up here. I love kickers, but I'm just saying.
No love for the kickers.
Can't spread the love that much about kickers. So, it is what it is. But I hope everybody enjoyed the podcast tonight. we just had a little fun, man. You know, just kicking it like we all do. This is what we do all the time, people. When we off screen, we talk about football every day.
All the time.
Our wife be like, "Do y'all ever get tired of talking to each other?" I be like, "No,
nope.
Leave us alone." I mean, this is what we do. So, but if you have any questions for us, please
leave them in the comments. Yes.
And just we'll be back next week because unfortunately, it may be our last week until the summer because of next week is the championship week for everybody that started last week.
Right.
But we will be keeping you informed throughout the summer on our Facebook page, and we might just jump on live every now and then to see how y'all doing. So definitely leave a comment. If you have any questions, just send us something at our page or leave some comments, and we'll definitely get back with you.
All right. And if you're in the championship game, good luck to you. Keeping your fingers crossed, except for you, Tony. No fingers crossed for you. So we'll see what happens. And we'll report back next week. Let y'all know how it goes.
All right, people. Y'all be good now.
Have a good one. Peace.